Hello and welcome to ViralBreak. I have immense pleasure in inviting a completely dignified, distinguished personality to our chat show this afternoon. He is somebody who is not known to every Malayali, but he is known to practically every high and the mighty ad man in the country. I have great delight, great pride in welcoming one of India's leading ad men, one of the leading India's advertising gurus, Prathap Suthan, onto ViralBreak. Prathap, great delight. I am speechless, and I am so proud this afternoon to have pinned you down finally.
Thank you.
And to have your distinguished presence on camera. Though
Very
you're
welcome.
sitting in Delhi, and I am in Cochin. It's
Right.
it's a real moment of pride for me personally, because I've only watched you on stage or watched you on screen or
Okay.
read your poetry or heard
Okay.
great things being talked about you by your friends or peers in the advertising
Okay.
industry. And I'm a rookie compared to the service that you have done to India's advertising. Though I also fall into the same communications field.
Okay.
The last time I remember seeing on stage was in Cochin when you came down for a lecture. I tried, as I told you, I tried running after you. By the time you were already in a car.
I know.
And,
I remember that. Yes.
and now lockdown has come in as a big blessing for me. Now you can't go running. And,
Completely. You can't go anywhere.
now, and also Pratap Sudhan also brings in a lot of pride to me being a Keralite, because you're from Trivandrum, you're from a capital city. So that means
Yes.
you learn the basics of life and communications from this state before you became a national advertising personality, and from the national scenario to an international ad man.
Yeah.
Pratap, what do you feel now?
I think it's a very interesting thing that you said. My childhood, I went to Loyola School, so from a scholastic and academic perspective, the school obviously offered much better scope of learning and knowledge than most schools around in Trivandrum. So we were fortunate to have some very, very good teachers, especially the padres who had come from Canada and the US and places like that. So part of the reason why I am able to speak English without the telltale Malayali accent is because of the school, and the importance that the school gave for speaking correct English. ഇത് പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് എനിക്ക് മലയാളം നല്ലോണം അറിയാം. മലയാളം പറഞ്ഞിട്ടൊന്നുമില്ല, പക്ഷെ മലയാളം ഞാൻ എൻ്റെ ബിസിനസ്സിൽ ഞാൻ യൂസ് ചെയ്യാറില്ല. ബട്ട് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ഇസ് മോസ്റ്റ്ലി വാട്ട് ഐ എം മോർ കംഫർട്ടബിൾ വിത്ത്. സോ ആ സ്കൂളിൽ ജോയിൻ ചെയ്ത സമയത്ത് there was a very interesting thing. ഞാൻ 8th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡിലാണ് എൻ്റെ റൈറ്റിംഗ് റെക്കഗ്നൈസ് ചെയ്തത്. That the fact that I could write ഒരു ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് composition or English comprehension, there was a lesson. So, normally in a class of, I think about 40 children, 40 boys, I must have been somewhere towards the bottom. I mean, maybe 25, 26 kind of a thing, I wasn't, I used to enjoy biology a lot. Somewhere I thought I could become a doctor, but then I realized that I had to go through, physics and chemistry and all that stuff in college, and I wasn't very keen to do that. So we had this English comprehension lesson, and our lesson test we had this weekly test. Every Friday ഒരു ടെസ്റ്റ് ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ആ ടെസ്റ്റ് നടക്കാൻ നേരത്ത് ഒരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ വന്നു. And it was cyclo-style paper, so it had questions on either side. So on one side, there were 5 words, I think, very strange, unconnected words: sky, frog, grass, leap, something like that. And on the other side, there was a picture. It was a hand-drawn cyclo-style picture of a beach. It just showed a beach, the horizon, and some birds in the sky, etc. And you could, either choose the words and you could write a story, or you could look at the picture and write a story. So for me, immediately I fell in love with that picture. I saw the picture and I had a story that came alive in my head. And it was a 2-hour test. At that moment, I had a beautiful story in my head. I still remember the title of that story. It was called Operation Jalaraj. And it had to do with, Jalaraj, and it had to do with Indian Marines going to Sri Lanka. Okay, I mean, roughly, I remember that was the kind of plot that I had. So I wrote that story, and at the end of it, it was almost like, someone just opened up my head and poured a bucket of light into my, mind, and everything came out through my fingers, and I was extremely satisfied. That was possibly the only ever test that I got up and said, look, this is the best I could have done, and nobody was going to beat me. So I was very happy with it, got out of it. So the next, so it was Friday, so the weekend passed, and Monday, the father who was teaching us, he came in, and normally what they do is, ഏറ്റവും കുറഞ്ഞ മാർക്ക് കിട്ടിയ ആളുടെ പേപ്പർ ആദ്യം കൊടുക്കുന്ന. എടാ ബ്രയൻ, യു ഗെറ്റ് അപ്പ്, നിനക്ക് 20, വാട്ട് ഈസ് ദിസ്, വൈ ഡു യു കം ടു ക്ലാസ്, എക്സെട്ര എക്സെട്ര. ഇങ്ങനെ പോയി അപ്പൊ അവസാനം സാധാരണ നല്ലോണം എഴുതുന്ന കുട്ടികളുടെ അവരുടെ മാർക്സ് എല്ലാം. അപ്പൊ എന്റെ മനസ്സിൽ I was very sure, I had made up in my head that I was going to be first in that particular test. അങ്ങനെ ആ ടെസ്റ്റിൽ ഞാൻ, and the teacher, I remember, said that, it is surprising that we have somebody very new and ഇത്രയും rarefied ആയിട്ടുള്ളൊരു പൊസിഷൻ ആദ്യമായിട്ടാണ് പുള്ളിക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നത്. അങ്ങനെ I got, I remember, 87 out of 100. 87 out of 100. Angana, I was happy, and some of my friends were actually happier because I sort of beat the regular people, So it was almost like an underdog winning, and a bunch of my friends were pretty happy. So I remember it was the 6th period, and then we had a break, and then we had the last period. Up our break, somebody from the teachers' staff, from the staff room, came and said, look, the father wants the paper back. And I gave it back, and then in about 5 minutes, the paper came back to me, and suddenly they had chopped 5 marks from it. So 87 became 83, which also meant that I became the second in class. Now, that was a strange point. I was obviously pretty upset with what happened. And then, it was one of those junctures where I could have hated learning English forever, or I could have sort of made up my mind to write even better the next time. So I think in my little head at that point in time, I think that was the decision I took, and that to me changed the way I approached writing, and ever since that I've been very good at writing English. Then in college, where I studied in Ivanios, I used to be very closely associated with these college magazines, etc. So, and I used to write ghost articles for friends. I used to even write love letters for my friends. It was pretty good because my charge was 1 mutton biryani at coffee house for one love letter. So and it was interesting. If now you look at it, I have written for many people, and there was one instance where I actually wrote for the guy, and then the girl got this particular letter, and then she called me and said, "Can you write a reply to this?" So so that is very interesting. Now, the good thing about that was, so if I had to write about somebody, I had to understand and study that person. Our character, പഠിക്കണം. What kind of books does he read? The English, perfect English ആണോ അതോ കച്ചട ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ആണോ, അവന്റെ ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ട് കണ്ട സിനിമകൾ ഏതാണ്, അവന് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ട പാട്ടുകൾ ഏതാണ്, അവൻ ഏത് സ്ഥലത്തു നിന്നാണ് വരുന്നത്, what is his background, is he from a wealthy background, from an average background, from a so I could actually write to that particular person. So I didn't want that letter not to sound like his. It had to sound authentic. So if you actually look at it, that sort of accidental training, so to say, is also very, very useful when it comes to advertising, because every brand is different. എല്ലാ ബ്രാൻഡിനും അതിനുള്ള ക്യാരക്ടർ ഉണ്ട്, അതിനുള്ള ഒരു വേൾഡ് ഉണ്ട്, അതിനുള്ള ഒരു ലാംഗ്വേജ് ഉണ്ട്. So I could train myself, or rather I had that training within me internally to sort of write specifically for each brand and make sure that it is a watertight world that it belongs to, and that I could write for some, I could continue to do that. So every brand that I write for has its own language and its own world and its own character. So I personalize it inside my head. ഈ ബ്രാൻഡ് ഇങ്ങനെ ഒരു ക്യാരക്ടറാണ്, ദിസ് ഇസ് വാട്ട് ദാറ്റ് പേഴ്സൺ ഡസ്, ദിസ് ഇസ് ദാറ്റ് പേഴ്സൺസ് ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ട്, അങ്ങനെ ദിസ് ഇസ് ദ കൈൻഡ് ഓഫ് ലാംഗ്വേജ് ദാറ്റ് പേഴ്സൺ സ്പീക്സ്. സോ ദാറ്റ്സ് വാട്ട് ഐ ഡു.
Okay.
So coming back to Trivandrum, can you hear me?
Yeah. No.
Yeah. Yep. So coming back to Trivandrum, so while this was my college background, college കഴിഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഞാൻ മെഡിക്കൽ കോളേജ് അടുത്ത് താമസിച്ചിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ അവിടെ I had a lot of friends. We used to go and play cricket in the evening. അപ്പൊ ആ ഫ്രണ്ട്സിന്റെ കൂട്ടത്തില് സംഗീത് ശിവനും സന്തോഷ് ശിവനും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പൊ അപ്പൊ Santosh is 1 year senior to me. Sangeet is 2 years senior to me. So we used to be, very, very thick friends, and we used to do all sorts of mischief together. Santosh recognized, in fact, both Santosh and Sangeet recognized that I could write, and one day they suggested that you should get into advertising. അങ്ങനെ അവരാണ് എന്നെ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് ഈ അഡ്വർടൈസിംഗ് വേൾഡ് ഉണ്ടെന്ന് they told me about it, and then they took me to Reflections. അന്നൊരു ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്തൊരു ഏജൻസി ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു called Reflections. Our Reflections, I joined as a junior copywriter. This was, I think, 84 or 85. I think 84.
84. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a lifetime ago.
Yeah. 84. I used to get 50 rupees per month. So that was what I started, my stipend. In fact, annum 50 rupees was terrible, because Bhagyathin, that's in നമ്മുടെ ശ്രീമുലം ക്ലബിൽ മെമ്പർ. Because of that, I was also a member. And ശ്രീമുലം club was right opposite where this office was. So അവിടെ പോയി ഉച്ചയ്ക്ക് ചാപ്പ അടിക്കാൻ 5 രൂപ കൊടുത്താൽ മതി. 5 രൂപ for the typical Trivandrum Kerala meals, and ഒരു ബീഫ് ഫ്രൈ ഓർഡർ ചെയ്യുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അത് 10 രൂപ. അപ്പൊ പിന്നെ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും വരാൻ വേണ്ടി ഒരു 10-15 രൂപ, എല്ലാം കൂടി ഒരു 25 രൂപ ദിവസം വേണം. പക്ഷെ 50 രൂപയായിരുന്നു നമ്മുടെ ശമ്പളം. അതും കിട്ടിയില്ല. That is also true.
So by all means, Trivandrum created India's finest copywriter.
നമ്മുടെ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്ത് നല്ല റൈറ്റേഴ്സ്, കുറേ റൈറ്റേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ട് കേട്ടോ. Lots of people. In fact, കേരളത്തിൽ ഇഷ്ടം പോലെ നല്ല റൈറ്റേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. A lot of people haven't perhaps, senior levels വന്നിട്ടില്ല, പക്ഷെ ഇഷ്ടം പോലെ നല്ല റൈറ്റേഴ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. I think it is also our നമ്മുടെ cultural and social context is also something which creates, the kind of stories that we have in films, etc. Malayalam films especially, what beautiful stories we have, and the kind of films that I get to watch these days. I mean, thankfully on Amazon Prime, you get to see the latest movies. In fact, I saw Ayyappan and Koshi recently. Oh, what a brilliant movie! It's fantastic. What a story. In fact, I've been recommending to my friends who work with me, my colleagues in Delhi. Most of them obviously are not Malayalis, but thankfully the subtitles are there, and all of them kind of fall in love. I saw Trans recently. Adun, a brilliant movie. The kind of plots, again, I mean, it's very unique. And the mosaic on Trivandrum and Kerala, especially. The kind of stories are prodigies of our land.
Prathap, I'm losing you. Can we log off and rejoin? Because there's some internet issue now. We'll just log off temporarily and rejoin immediately.
Okay. We'll do that.
My God.
Message that you are a good friend of his. Anyway, we're going to be talking today.
Yeah. Oh my God. I didn't know the world was this small. Because Shaji.
Yeah.
Ayo. Endo? Arun? Okay. Okay, right. Live ready or not? Okay, so shall we go?
Yeah, sure. Let's go.
Okay, ready. Okay. Video. Okay, but finally we are back, Prathap, and welcome back to Viral Break. We experienced a bit of an issue in the afternoon. I'm sure the whole country has been, is logged on to the internet. So naturally,
see the good thing about this is that if എനിക്ക് ഒരിടത്ത് പോകാൻ വേറൊരു പരിപാടിയില്ല, ഇത് കണ്ടോണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന ആൾക്ക് പോകാൻ പരിപാടിയില്ല. അപ്പൊ സാവധാനം സംഭവം വന്നിട്ട് എല്ലാവർക്കും ചെയ്യാം. There is no hurry. ഒരു hurry ഇല്ല ആർക്കും.
Otherwise, we are people who count, the value of a second, a minute.
Absolutely. ഇപ്പൊ ആർക്കും ഒരു സുഖം.
Anyway, so back to where we were before.
Yeah.
Now, I also started my career in Trivandrum. Now, I remember my first interview way back in 1991, which is much later compared to your beginning in Trivandrum. Now, I didn't know the person who interviewed me. It was a 3-member board, and the person sitting right in the middle was the president of the company. Now, he asked me whether I want to, I prefer Madras or Trivandrum. And I said Trivandrum. So out came the next question. You want Bangalore or Trivandrum? And I again said Trivandrum. So they looked at each other and they said, even endo oru asugam undennulla style ആണ് എന്നെ നോക്കുന്നത്. Even endu pattiyen. And I had no clue because I wanted to be in Kerala. So the idea was, Trivandrum is closer to Cochin. So, okay. Now, and they knew that I was hell-bent on being in Trivandrum. And the president of the interview board, the chairman of the board, he said, son, you have no idea what you're getting into.
Okay.
If you can survive there in Trivandrum, you can survive anywhere in the world.
Which is true. I mean, Trivandrum has its own uniqueness.
Yeah. So now 3.5 years later, when I left Trivandrum on a promoted platform, I was reminded of this statement. Now, some 21 years later, today when I ask myself whether I am successful or not, I don't know whether I'm successful financially or commercially. But one thing I'm pretty sure, that I am a survivor. Because those 3.5 years in Trivandrum taught me a story of stories, got me through a mother of all experiences. Now, what is your take on it? Being a native of Trivandrum.
Yeah, so Trivandrum has, like I said, it's very unique in its own way.
Yeah.
Trivandrum, much like Kerala, across the state, has a problem of too much vivaram. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടില് എല്ലാവർക്കും വിവരം കൂടുതല. And it is a good thing and it's a bad thing. It's like a knife. You can hurt somebody with a knife and you can make a salad with a knife. It's one of those things. ആ ഒരു threshold ആണ് കേരള എപ്പോഴും. എവിടെ പോയാലും you will find educated people, people who read a lot. I've heard a story. I don't know whether it's true or not. Henry Kissinger. Henry Kissinger apparently was in Kerala on a it's not a very publicized trip of his. He had come down to see the place, etc. And apparently he was close to the vice chancellor or something like that. A story, so authentic but there is a nice little bit about it. So he came down and they were going through the Western Ghats on the Munnar side കറങ്ങിക്കൊണ്ടിരിക്കുകയാണ് കാറിൽ. അപ്പോൾ എന്തോ സംസാരിച്ചപ്പോഴത്തേക്കും ഹെൻറി കിസിഞ്ചർ പുള്ളിയോട് ചോദിച്ചു, നിങ്ങൾ പറയുന്നത് ഈ എല്ലാവർക്കും എന്നെ അറിയാമെന്നാണല്ലോ നിങ്ങൾ പറയുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ഹെൻറി കിസിഞ്ചറിന് അറിയാൻ വയ്യാത്ത ആളില്ലല്ലോ, നിക്സന്റെ റൈറ്റ് ഹാൻഡ് ആയിരുന്നല്ലോ. അപ്പൊ are you saying that in the back of beyond, in this place which is somewhere in the Western Ghats, you think people will know who I am? So he said, yeah, this is Kerala, and Kerala people know who everybody is. So നമുക്കൊന്ന് ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാം. അങ്ങനെ ടെസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്യാന്ന് പറയും. ഇവരൊരു ചായക്കടയ്ക്കകത്ത് വരും. ചായക്കടയിലേക്ക് അവിടെ ഒരു 5-6 പേര് എടുപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരും പത്രമൊക്കെ വായിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്നു, ചായ കുടിക്കുന്നു, വീഡിയോ കളിക്കുന്നു, അതെല്ലാം നടക്കുന്നു. അപ്പൊ ഇവർ രണ്ടുപേരും അകത്ത് കയറി ഇദ്ദേഹം പറഞ്ഞു ചായ വേണം, ചായ കൊടുത്തു. അപ്പോ ഇയാൾ നോക്കിയിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു, നോബഡി റെക്കഗ്നൈസ് മീ, ആരും എന്നെ കണ്ടിട്ട് ആരും അങ്ങനെ കണ്ട പോലെ നടിച്ചില്ലല്ലോ. ഇയാള് പറഞ്ഞു ഇവിടെ ഇരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലാവർക്കും നിങ്ങൾ അറിയാം, മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ? ആൻഡ് അപ്പൊ അയാൾ പറഞ്ഞു ഒരു ബെറ്റ് വെക്കാം. അങ്ങനെ അപ്പൊ ഈ നമ്മുടെ വൈസ് ചാൻസലർ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ കക്ഷിപ്പുള്ളി എനിക്ക് ചോദിച്ചു, ഈ ഇരിക്കുന്ന എല്ലായിടത്തും ചോദിച്ചു, എന്റെ അടുത്തിരിക്കുന്ന ആളിനെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് അറിയാമോ ചോദിച്ചു. അപ്പൊ ഇയാൾ പറഞ്ഞു, നിങ്ങൾ ചൂസ് ചെയ്യും, യു ആസ്ക് എനിബഡി യു വാണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ഇരിക്കുന്ന കക്ഷി, യു ടെൽ. പുള്ളി പറഞ്ഞു, ഇത് ഹെൻറി കിസിഞ്ചർ. അപ്പൊ ഇയാൾ ഷോക്ക്ഡായി. He said, you know who I am? ഞാൻ ഹെൻറി കിസിഞ്ചർ ആണെന്ന് അറിയാമോ? അറിയാം. ഞാൻ ആരാണെന്ന് അറിയാമോ? യെസ്, ഇൻ ദ റൈറ്റ് ഹാൻഡ്. പിന്നെ നിങ്ങൾ എന്നെ കണ്ടിട്ട് റെക്കഗ്നൈസ് ചെയ്യാതിരിക്കുന്നു, അത് നിങ്ങളുടെ ഈജിപ്ഷ്യൻ പോളിസി നമുക്ക് ഇഷ്ടമല്ല. നിങ്ങൾ ആ പോളിസി കറക്റ്റ് അല്ല. നമ്മുടെ മലയാളത്തിൽ മറ്റേ ശ്രീനിവാസൻ പറയില്ലേ, എന്ത് പറ്റി പറഞ്ഞാലും കോളേജിനെ പറ്റി പറയാൻ പാടില്ല. അതേ വളരെ ഇൻസിഡൻസ് നടന്നാണ് കേൾവി. ബട്ട് ദിസ് ഇസ് ട്രൂ. ബിക്കോസ് നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ ആൾക്കാർ ഈ ചായക്കടയിൽ പേപ്പറൊക്കെ they sort of discuss a lot of things, right? The overall general vivaram is very, very high, intellectually and intelligence wise as well. People know, people are aware. So ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷനിൽ when you deal with ഒരു ഓട്ടോറിക്ഷ കയറിയാലും he has a point of view because he meets a lot of people and he has his own accumulated knowledge and wisdom and direction about where the state is going, etc. He has a point of view that's shared. So when you survive in Kerala, and of course, I mean, this intelligence also means that ചില കള്ളന്മാരുണ്ട് in the good place. You know,
അതെ
and നമ്മളെപ്പോലെ ആൾക്കാരെ പറ്റിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ആൾക്കാർ വേറെ ഇല്ല. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ?
അതെ അതെ അതെ
പണ്ട് പറയത്തില്ലേ, ആംസ്ട്രോങ് ചായ കുടിക്കാൻ സോറി മൂളിപ്പോയ വഴിക്ക് അവിടെ വന്ന് ഇറങ്ങിയപ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് ഒരു ചായ എടുക്കട്ടെ എന്ന് മലയാളി ചോദിച്ച കേസ് പോലാണ്. We are everywhere, and it is നമ്മള് as a group of people, we have survived in this world because of the background that we come from. We have been able to, from an intelligence perspective, to survive. നമ്മള് പറയുമല്ലോ ഇന്ത്യക്ക് ഭയങ്കര ജുഗാഡ് ആണ്, ഇന്ത്യയിൽ ജുഗാഡ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സംഭവം വലുതാണ്. It is not. I mean, look at Kerala. We also have the same thing. We also develop a lot of things. മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ?
True.
So that is something which collectively, when you are part of a certain group, you get elevated, and it's a very good thing. And it is also because I think നമ്മുടെ പണ്ടത്തെ നാട്ടിൽ നോക്കുമ്പോൾ the only entertainment that we had had movies. None of us really went to the theater, so നമ്മൾ തിയേറ്ററിൽ അധികം പോകാറില്ല. കഥാപ്രസംഗം എന്നൊരു സാധനം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു പണ്ട്, ഇഷ്ടംപോലെ സാംബശിവൻ പാടുമായിരുന്നു. പിന്നെ ബുക്സ്, ട്രിവാൻഡ്രം ബ്രിട്ടീഷ് ലൈബ്രറി, പബ്ലിക് ലൈബ്രറി, പിന്നെ അമേസിംഗ് കളക്ഷൻ. ഞാൻ അവിടെ പോയി, ഞാൻ ലോയൽ സ്കൂളിൽ പഠിച്ചിരുന്ന സമയത്ത് നമുക്ക് so we followed the January to December system, okay, versus the Kerala schools, which was June. അവരുടെ സ്കൂൾ എൻഡ് ചെയ്യുന്നത് ജൂണിലാണ്, പുതിയ സ്കൂൾ വർഷം തുടങ്ങുന്നത് ജൂണിലാണ്. അപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ ICSE തീർന്നതിന് ശേഷം നമുക്ക് we had 6 months of free time till the time college starts. So ആ സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ ഈ പബ്ലിക് ലൈബ്രറിയിൽ പോകാറുണ്ട്. പബ്ലിക് ലൈബ്രറിയിൽ നമ്മൾ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്ത് അതിൽ 2 നിലയാണ്. I remember right upstairs മോളിലോട്ട് പോകുമ്പോഴത്തേക്ക് അവിടെ കുറെ ആരും അധികം യൂസ് ചെയ്യാത്ത നോക്കാത്ത കുറെ ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് മാഗസിൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. And I'm talking about 1977. Okay, 77 നമ്മുടെ അവിടെ we had British tabloids in that public library. Okay, when I say British tabloids, മെയിലും അങ്ങനത്തെ അല്ലാതെ സ്പെസിഫിക് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ചില വെർട്ടിക്കൽ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രീസിനെ പറ്റിയുള്ള മാഗസിൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. അതായത് മോട്ടോർ സൈക്ലിംഗ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു മാഗസിൻ ഉണ്ട്. അത് ഇറ്റ്സ് എ ടാബ്ലോയിഡ് സോർട്ട് ഓഫ് തിങ്. അത് ഇറ്റ്സ് അബൌട്ട് ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ മോട്ടോർ സൈക്ലിംഗ്. അപ്പം മൈ നോളജ് അബൌട്ട് മോട്ടോർ സൈക്കിൾസ് പിക്ഡ് അപ്പ് because of those magazines. അന്ന് നമ്മുടെ ആ പാട് ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്ത് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന മോട്ടോർ സൈക്കിൾസ്, I'm talking about 10th standard, ആകെപ്പാട് അറിയാവുന്ന ജാവ, SD, ബുള്ളറ്റ്, പിന്നെ രാജ്ദൂത്. ഈ 4 ബ്രാൻഡ് അല്ലാതെ വേറെ ഒന്നും നമ്മൾ കേട്ടിട്ടില്ല. When I started going there, suddenly Suzuki, Yamaha, Kawasaki, Honda, Moto Guzzi, so Italian brands and this brand and Harley Davidson. അത് അന്ന് 10th സ്റ്റാൻഡേർഡിൽ എനിക്ക് ഇതെല്ലാം ഇതിനെപ്പറ്റി അറിയാം. പിന്നെ അതിനെപ്പറ്റി റേസിംഗ്, ആരൊക്കെയാണ് അതിന്റെ racing specialists, and what are the different kinds of motorcycle races that used to be there. That is one section. Then I picked up on outdoor fishing and outdoor motorboats. Motorboats use in the engines. Now we have those engines in Kerala. I'm talking about Johnson, Evinrude. അങ്ങനത്തെ ഉള്ള ഓരോ പേരുകളൊന്നും ആ സമയത്ത് ആർക്കും അറിയില്ല. But I picked it up and
now in your run up to become a national level creative copy director, it's a fascinating story from Trivandrum to New Delhi. Probably before that, Bangalore, Mumbai, and Delhi. Or you went straight to Delhi?
No. So see, after my time with Reflections, ആ സമയത്ത് നമ്മുടെ my family as a traditional, my father's father was a businessman. പുള്ളിക്ക് കയറിന്റെ എക്സ്പോർട്ട് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. നമ്മുടെ നാടെന്ന് പറയുന്നത് വർക്കലയ്ക്ക് അടുത്താണ്. പ്ലേസ് കോൾഡ് അകത്തുമുറി, വെന്നിക്കോട് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സ്ഥലം. അപ്പൊ അവിടെ എന്റെ ഗ്രാൻഡ് ഫാദർ വാസ് എ pretty well known businessman and an exporter of Koya carpets and mats and the cricket pitches എല്ലാം അവിടെ നമ്മുടെ മാറ്റിംഗ് വിക്കറ്റ്സ് ഇല്ലേ അതെല്ലാം ഇംഗ്ലണ്ടിലോട്ട് അയക്കുന്നത് എന്റെ ഗ്രാൻഡ് ഫാദറിന്റെ അവിടെയായിരുന്നു. പുള്ളി he died very early, unfortunately. അങ്ങനെ ആ ബിസിനസ് that sort of crumbled because my father was too young to run it. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് എന്റെ ഫാദറിന്റെ മൂത്ത് ചേച്ചി she married a person who was also in the same trade, and they're based in Alleppey. And their children, in fact, the eldest cousin of mine, Shan എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, പുള്ളി took over that, saying, look, എൻ്റെ ഫാമിലിയിലുള്ള ഒരു ബിസിനസ് ഐഡിയയാണ് ഈ കോയർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. Maybe I should do something with it. അങ്ങനെ he went abroad and he was in the US. I think he went in 1970s, 72 or something like that. And he slowly started, export businesses, etc. So, നമ്മുടെ കേരള ആലപ്പുഴ ഫാക്ടറീസ് ഉണ്ട്, അമേരിക്കയിലും ഫാക്ടറി ഉണ്ട്. അങ്ങനെ എൻ്റെ കസിൻസ് എല്ലാം ഇതുമായിട്ട് ഇൻവോൾവ് ആയി. ആ സമയത്ത് ഞാനും അമേരിക്കയിൽ പോയി. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അമേരിക്കയിൽ പോകുന്നത് 85-ലാണ്. I remember I mentioned about my first flight. അപ്പോൾ ഈ എൻ്റെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ഫ്ലൈറ്റ് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, I still remember the date. It is June 24th. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ആദ്യമായിട്ട് പോകുന്നത് ട്രിവാൻഡ്രം, ബോംബെ, ന്യൂയോർക്ക്. അതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഫ്ലൈറ്റ്. ആദ്യമായിട്ടാണ് പ്ലെയിനിൽ കയറുന്നത്. ഈ പ്ലെയിനിൽ കയറി അന്നത്തെ ഇന്ത്യൻ എയർലൈൻസ് എയർബസ് A300. ഇറ്റ്സ് എ ബിഗ് വൈഡ് ബോഡിഡ് എയർക്രാഫ്റ്റ്, വെരി ബിഗ്. അതിനകത്ത് കയറി. അപ്പം ഞാൻ കയറി ഇരുന്നപ്പോൾ തന്നെ സീറ്റിന്റെ മുകളിൽ ക്യാബിൻ ലഗേജ് എല്ലാം വെക്കുന്നത് somebody had kept a brown paper bag over it. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഈ സാധനം കണ്ടു ആദ്യം. അപ്പോൾ അത് it looked very odd because roof of the plane, the ceiling of the plane and the cabin bag ന്റെ ഇടയ്ക്കുള്ള സ്ഥലത്താണ്. So it was visible outside. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഇങ്ങനെ ആലോചിച്ചതിനെ പറ്റി, ഇതെന്തായിരിക്കും ഈ സാധനം. ഞാനൊന്നും മിണ്ടിയില്ല. പ്ലെയിൻ ടേക്ക് ഓഫ് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഒരു 10-15 മിനിറ്റ് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഈ സീറ്റ് ബെൽറ്റ് എല്ലാം എടുത്ത് ഞാനപ്പോൾ എയർ ഹോസ്റ്റലിൽ ചോദിച്ചു, ഈ ഇരിക്കുന്ന സാധനം എന്താണെന്ന് വെച്ചു. അപ്പൊ അവരെ നോക്കിയിട്ട്, അയ്യോ ഇങ്ങനൊരു സാധനം ഇരിപ്പുണ്ട്. ചെറിയൊരു പേടി വന്നവർ. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ചോദിച്ചു, do you know what it is? She said, no, I don't know. She called the senior, the flight purser, the main guy who came out, and he brought a stick. I don't know where he got that stick from. I remember he got a stick and he started poking it. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ചോദിച്ചു, why are you doing such a thing? അപ്പൊ എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് പറയാൻ, വല്ല ബോംബാണെങ്കിലോ. ബോംബാണെങ്കിൽ നിങ്ങൾ സ്വിച്ചിട്ട് പോക്കിയത് അപ്പൊ പൊട്ടത്തില്ല ഈ സാധനം. ഭാഗ്യത്തിന് it turned out to be leftover of a lunch somebody had eaten in the plane and stuffed it over there. It was not clean. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഞാൻ പ്ലെയിൻ ബോംബെയിൽ ലാൻഡ് ചെയ്തപ്പോ നമ്മുടെ ഇതിന്റെ ലാഡർ വഴി ഇറങ്ങി വരുന്നപ്പോ, so there was this one Sardar guy who was looking at me, and he's an Indian Airlines employee. എന്നെ നോക്കിയിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ ചിരിച്ചു. I don't know him from Adam, who's this guy? I was trying to place him, and he just kept smiling at me. So I said, do we know each other? So he said, no, but did you know? I said, what? He said, did I know what? Air India plane bombed. I said, what? He said, Air India plane exploded and people died. I said, my goodness, I didn't want to hear this one. So this was June 24th. Kanishka എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു plane. Cork എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സ്ഥലത്ത് മുകളിൽ, they kept bombs inside and the whole thing happened. I flew on that day. Now, crazily enough, അന്ന് ബോംബെയിൽ അവിടെ ചെന്നു. പിറ്റേ ദിവസം രാവിലെ TW എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ എയർലൈൻസിൽ ഞാൻ we took off from Bombay. It was Bombay, Kuwait, Cairo, and all the way up to the Arctic, and then coming down alongside Canada, down to Boston, to New York. I mean, that was a big leg of the journey. We actually flew over Ireland, and he said, look, this is the feeling, And so that was my first flight, and it wasn't.
So,
It was
so
scary.
it was a flight to modernity. It was
Yeah,
a flight
in
to
a
the
way.
modern world.
Yeah, strangely.
Now,
Yeah.
Pratap, now your story has a lot of colors to it, because you're the person who were behind two of India's advertised campaigns, and the two campaigns led by the government of India.
That's
One
true.
was
Yeah.
Incredible India. One was Incredible India, which has been there for the last 20 odd years, and it continues. Now,
Yeah.
and the other is the India Shining campaign.
Right.
Now, I had no clue, despite being part of this industry, part of the communications industry. I had no idea that these were the handiwork of somebody from Trivandrum, somebody from my state. Now,
Okay.
the minute I came to know about it, it was a moment of pride for people like us. Now, to reach that level where you hobnobbed or you brush shoulders with the powerhouses of India, or probably the visionaries that ran India at that particular point of time and continue to run. Now, what was that experience? How did you reach there? Quickly.
Okay. Yeah. Sure. So so when I was in the US, one of the things that I did there was, so I used to work in a store. My cousin used to have a store called 7-Eleven. So a department store sort of a thing,
Yeah.
24 hours.
Yeah.
But so we used to have this little thing which is based out of crushed ice and syrup called Slurpee. Slurpee എന്നൊരു സാധനം അവിടെ വിൽക്കും, ആ കടയിൽ വിൽക്കും. അപ്പോൾ സമ്മർ ടൈമിൽ ആൾക്കാർ വന്നത്, നമ്മളൊരു യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റിയുടെ അടുത്ത ഡ്രെക്സൽ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, അവിടെ വന്ന് ഈ സാധനം വാങ്ങിക്കും. അപ്പോൾ ഒരു ദിവസം ഈ മെഷീൻ ചത്തു. അതായത് ഇതെന്തോ സംഭവം പ്രശ്നമായിട്ട് the machine died down. And because it was summer and people used to come and say, "Can I have this Slurpee? Can I have?" I said, "Look, I'm sorry, the machine broke down." And then, every 2 minutes there's somebody else coming and asking. And I said, "Look, why can't I know? I told so many people that it's not working." So I decided to write a poster. I'm going to do poster. നല്ലൊരു കലാപരമായിട്ടൊരു സാധനം എഴുതി, ഈ ആൾക്കാർ ഇത് വായിച്ചിട്ട് അവർ ചിരിക്കും. എന്നിട്ട് ഇതിനെപ്പറ്റി ആൾക്കാർ ആ യൂണിവേഴ്സിറ്റിയിൽ സംസാരിച്ചു. അങ്ങനെ ആ പോസ്റ്റർ കണ്ടോന്ന് ചോദിച്ചു. അങ്ങനെ ആ പോസ്റ്റർ കാണാൻ വേണ്ടി ആൾക്കാർ കടയിൽ വന്നു. ആൻഡ് ദാറ്റ്സ് വെൻ ഐ റിയലൈസ് ദാറ്റ് നമ്മുടെ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രം ഇംഗ്ലീഷും അമേരിക്കൻ ഇംഗ്ലീഷുമായിട്ട് പിടിച്ച് നിൽക്കാം എന്നുള്ളൊരു ധൈര്യം അവിടെ വന്നു. ആൻഡ് ഓൾസോ അവര് നോക്കുമ്പോൾ നമ്മള് when I speak English, I don't have that accent. They said, I mean, you came from America like 2 months back, and how can you speak like this? So either you are lying that you have been here only for 2 months, or you are very intelligent. It's one of they couldn't figure out that we could speak English exactly the way, or maybe even better than them, from where we come from.
Correct.
So
Correct.
അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഞാൻ തിരിച്ചു. സോ എനിക്ക് ആ ഒരു ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റ് ഉള്ള സാധനം ഇങ്ങനെ എഴുതുന്നതായിരുന്നു. So I used to write posters every time things went wrong, and it was always appreciated. Then I came back and then one day I saw this small ad that looked for copywriters in Mudra. So Mudra was my first place, and I joined as a trainee copywriter in Mudra, Ahmedabad. And Mudra, Ahmedabad was the headquarters of Mudra. So അവിടെ I used to work with Vimal എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ബ്രാൻഡ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നല്ലോ.
Vimal, suitings and garments.
അവർക്ക് അഞ്ച് ബ്രാൻഡ്സ് ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അതായത് വിമൽ സാരീസ്, വിമൽ ഡ്രസ് മെറ്റീരിയൽ, വിമൽ suitings, and vimal shirtings, and then something called Harmony, which is upholstery, basically home textiles, but of course industrial stuff for homes. So I used to work on that, and and thankfully the kind of work that I used to do was appreciated not just by EGK, who was the chairman, but also by Anil Ambani. Anil Ambani used to overlook Mudra's work, and I have a letter that he had written, which came to me saying that there was one campaign that he had done, and that I had done, and he personally said it was possibly the best fashion campaign that ever ran in this country.
Fantastic.
So that was a good thing. And then very interestingly, in '92, just about the time I was about to get married, and I met Jyoti, my wife now. She's from NID, National Institute of Design, Ahmedabad. She's a textile
Okay.
designer. She is Tamilian but born and brought up in Bombay. Her father was also from Trichur, Malayalam പുള്ളിക്കറിയ. സോ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു നല്ലൊരു കണക്ഷൻ ആയിരുന്നു. സോ വി മെറ്റ് ഈച്ച് അതർ. ആ സമയത്തായിരുന്നു മുദ്രയില് DDB എന്നൊരു കമ്പനി ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, DDB Needham. So they picked up 10% stake in Mudra. That was their entry into India. So they bought 10% stake in Mudra. And DDB used to handle McDonald's as a global brand. So DDB Chicago used to handle this brand. So Super Bowl is the Super Bowl America. So Super Bowl on that day, all of America's or the global brands advertise, because people are hooked on to television at that time. McDonald's did a brief on the Super Bowl commercial brief. About there was a chairman and a visitor come to my office. Our office, he gave me a very well-written document, and he said, "This has just come from Chicago, and I want you to work on it." അപ്പോൾ അന്നാണ് ഞാൻ ആദ്യമായിട്ടൊരു ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ ബ്രീഫ് കാണുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ആ ബ്രീഫ് വാസ് വെരി ക്ലിയർ, ഡയറക്ഷൻ വാസ് വെരി ക്ലിയർ. അപ്പോൾ ഇവരുടെ ഇതിൽ they almost give you about a year to prepare for this film, because it's a big thing. It's a landmark event in American television, so to say, Super Bowl.
Yeah, it's almost like IPL in India.
Absolutely. I mean, this is only one day. This is one day. It's one day off. So almost എനിക്കൊരു 3 മാസമുണ്ട് ഈ സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റ് എഴുതാൻ. ബേസിക്കലി ഒരു ഫിലിമിന്റെ സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റ് എഴുതി അയക്കണം. സോ അങ്ങനെ ഞാൻ ഈ ഫിലിം എഴുതി. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ മാത്രമേ ചെയ്യുന്നു, വേറെ ആരും, nobody else is involved. And my chairman said, you do one thing, after you write this film, you send it off. അന്ന് ഇന്റർനെറ്റ് ഒന്നും ഇല്ലല്ലോ, അന്ന് ഫാക്സ് നമ്പേഴ്സേ ഉള്ളൂ. അപ്പൊ സാധനം ഫാക്സ് ചെയ്തു. അപ്പൊ ഈ ഫാക്സ് ചെയ്താലും നമുക്കറിയില്ല അവിടെ കിട്ടിയോ ഇല്ലയോ നമുക്കറിയില്ല, because there is no acknowledgement that comes. So ഞാൻ ഈ 3 മാസം കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഞാൻ 2 ഫിലിംസ് എഴുതി. എന്നിട്ട് അവർ പറഞ്ഞ ആ സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ ഇത് ഫാക്സ് ചെയ്തു. ഒരു ദിവസം രാത്രി 2-3 മണിക്കുന്നുണ്ട് ഞാൻ ഈ സംഭവം ഫിനിഷ് ചെയ്ത്. I had to make sure that it was crystal clear in the way I had written it, so there were no doubts about it. I thought it was very good, so I sent it. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഒരു അനക്കവും ഇല്ല. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ് ഒരു 2 മാസം കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ ഒരു കോൾ വന്നു എനിക്ക് ഫ്രം ചെയർമാൻ. ഞാൻ ചെയർമാൻ്റെ ഓഫീസ്, ഞാൻ വല്ലതും ചെയ്ത് കാണും, കോളായി കാണും, മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ. സോ ചെയർമാൻ ചീത്ത വിളിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി വിളിക്കുകയായിരിക്കും. വിളിച്ചിട്ട് പുള്ളി എൻ്റെ അടുത്ത് പറഞ്ഞു, I don't know what you did, but they want to see you. So they want you to go to a place called Monte Carlo, which is in south of France. Yeah. So after DDB Needham International Worldwide, Creative Detectives Worldwide Conference. So that is നമ്മുടെ Can Lions advertising the വലിയ festival. So normally what happens is most international agencies ഈ Can Festival തുടങ്ങുന്നതിന് മുമ്പേ ഒരാഴ്ച മുമ്പേ അവരെല്ലാവരും വരും. എന്നിട്ട് അവരുടെ, because worldwide ആൾക്കാർ വരും, എന്നിട്ട് they have their own conferences, and then after the conference is over they go for the festival and then they go back home.
Correct.
So എന്നെ ഈ സാധനത്തിന് വിളിച്ചു. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ റെഡിയായി. അപ്പൊ എൻ്റെ my കല്യാണം was on the 6th of July. Now June, the Can Festival happens during the 21st of June to 27th. ആ വീക്കിലാണ് സാധാരണ നടക്കുന്നത്. ഈ വർഷം obviously it is cancelled. So ഞാനിങ്ങനെ, അപ്പൊ അതിന് ഒരു ആഴ്ചക്ക് മുമ്പാണ് ഞാൻ ഈ മോണ്ടി കാർലോയിൽ പോകുന്നത്. മോണ്ടി കാർലോ പോയി I checked into this hotel, Louis Monte Carlo. അത് ആ ഹോട്ടലിൽ കൂടെയാണ് നമ്മുടെ F1 ട്രാക്ക് പോകുന്നത്. It's a beautiful hotel, right on the edge of the Mediterranean, so to say. Expensive like hell. അന്ന് ഫ്രാങ്ക് ആണ്, അന്ന് യൂറോസ് ഒന്നും അല്ല, അന്ന് ഫ്രാങ്ക് ആണ്. സോ നമ്മൾ ഡോളേഴ്സ് കൊണ്ടുപോയി അത് ചേഞ്ച് ചെയ്യണം. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ചെന്ന സമയത്ത് the franc was stronger, so I lost more dollars. So money that I kept aside for shopping and whatever little things that I needed to buy, that also went out, and I didn't have almost no money with me. But so I went there. Young Chandra, I went into the hall where all these guys were sitting, and all of them were, in their 60s, their 65, 70-year-old, really, grizzled old veterans of advertising from the entire DDB Needham group. And I walked in and they said, like, who are you? So I said, I'm from India. And, we've been waiting for you. And now my baby creative director, baby CD, baby CD. Because creative director, according to them, is a guy who's got about 45 years of experience. I had about 5 or 6 years of experience. Where would I be CD? And this is the creative directors conference. So so what happens is, our brief I can station under 10 scripts develop across all their offices internationally. So all these scripts are brought in. Once they collate all the scripts, adil ninnu 10 script which is choosing. These 10 scripts, these global creative directors, they go through it, and from there they choose 2 scripts. Okay? അപ്പോൾ ഈ 2 സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റ് ചൂസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഈ 2 സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റാണ് പിന്നെ ഷിക്കാഗോയിൽ മെക്ഡോണൾഡ്സിന് പ്രസന്റ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. എന്നിട്ട് അതിൽ നിന്ന് അവർ ഒരു ഫിലിം ചൂസ് ചെയ്യും, ആൻഡ് ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് എ ഫിലിം ദാറ്റ് ഗെറ്റ്സ് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ്ഡ് ഫോർ സൂപ്പർ ബോൾ. ദാറ്റ് ഇസ് ദ പ്രോസസ് വിച്ച് ഐ ഡിഡ്ന്റ് നോ, വിച്ച് ഐ ലേൺഡ് ദേർ. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ അവിടെ ചെന്നപ്പോൾ എൻ്റെ ഫിലിം ഈ 10-നകത്തുണ്ട്. അങ്ങനെയാണ് എന്നെ അവിടെ വിളിച്ചത്. സോ മൈ ഫിലിം made it to the final 10. And then as things went, they said, you know what? നിങ്ങളുടെ ഫിലിമാണ് നമുക്ക് ചെയ്യേണ്ട ഫിലിം. This is the film that we want to run for, and want to make for Super Bowl, but we don't know how to make it. Your idea is so ahead of time that we don't know how to make it. And we've been trying, the entire lot in this group has been trying to break their heads open, and they can't quite figure out how to make it. In fact, I wrote about this on LinkedIn the other day. And Tony Coxon, a really famous creative director in London, multiple Cannes Grand Prix winner, etc., etc., one of the legends in advertising. He called me aside and said, you know what? Your film is fantastic, but with all the experience we have in Hollywood, we don't know how to make this. Okay, so we're going to give it a miss. So I don't want you to feel sad. I want you to feel happy that it reached this place. Eventually, of course, my film was never made. But interestingly, last Australian Open, Uber Eats did the same film. The same idea was finally done. And of course, I mean, ideas happen to everybody. Somebody else could have, your idea somewhere else. So obviously somebody had this idea, and they executed it, and it won the Grand Prix. So I had an idea at that time. How I got that idea, but the idea happened and it went all the way. So that gave me a big boost in the system.
Correct.
And eventually I became creative director in Mudra. Balki
Balki, of course.
Yeah, correct. Batman, all that. So
correct.
Basically, നമ്മുടെ batch ആണ് Balki, me, Ramki, then Sunil Gautam, he's in Australia, Ajit Kuryakos, then there is Dhruvo Bokotaki. ഇതെല്ലാമായിരുന്നു നമ്മുടെ പങ്കജ് മിർസു. 7 പേരുണ്ടായിരുന്നു നമ്മുടെ ബാച്ചിൽ. So, and all of us, were in different parts of the country. So, after Mudra, which was, I was in Mudra till about 96. So, between 94, between 94 and 96, I switched to, I did ഒരു 6 മാസം, ഞാൻ മലയാളിയല്ലേ, അപ്പം ഗൾഫിൽ പോയിട്ട് ഒരു ആഗ്രഹം ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അങ്ങനെ ഗൾഫിൽ പോയി, പക്ഷെ കുളമായെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ I didn't like the overall ambience of that place. The work culture and plus a lot of other complications happened, and I came back and I joined Grey. Grey, again, it's an American agency. I joined in Delhi.
Trikai Grey.
Ade.
Trikai Grey, Grey Worldwide.
I joined in Samayatha, it was Trikai Grey. And later on, they dropped Trikai and became Grey. So I started off in Delhi. So Delhi is when, and it is very interesting, and it might be helpful for juniors. Barring the McDonald's incident, which is a one-off exception, I work in all brands, Indian brands.
I see, okay.
Yeah, so Vimal, Rasna, Dhara, Ajanta clocks, Milson, Atta Chakki എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സാധനമുണ്ട്. നമ്മുടെ ഈ ഗോതമ്പ് പൊടിക്കുന്ന സാധനം, പിന്നെ സിംഫണി എയർ കൂളർ, ഇതെല്ലാം ഇന്ത്യൻ മെയ്ഡ് ഇൻ ഇന്ത്യ ബ്രാൻഡ്സ് ആണ്. So ഇതെല്ലാം mostly are owner driven companies, and they're not formatted like big multinational companies. So when I switched over to Grey, suddenly I was faced with multinational clients, and I was a little bit hesitant. How do I handle? How do I get into the mode of working on a multinational client? Because I'm not very familiar with their templates and their working systems and all that, because it's extremely formatted stuff. And my first client was at that time Glaxo, SmithKline Beecham. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ഡൽഹിയിൽ വന്ന് ജോയിൻ ചെയ്ത്, സമയത്ത് the earlier creative director was asked to go because the brand manager on SmithKline Beecham, on the brand that we were handling, which was called Aquafresh toothpaste, he did not like the creative director, so the creative director had to go, and I replaced him. And
okay.
I was walking into the storm,
in a volatile environment.
Yeah, and then there was this big talk about just how sharp and intelligent and almost aesthetically intelligent this client was. He client you can't really, you can share an idea, but he will rip it to shreds. There is no way you can get past this man. എനിക്കാണെങ്കിൽ നമ്മുടെ നാട്ടിൽ കേരളത്തിൽ പറയുന്ന പോലെ മുട്ടിടിയൻ വാട്ടർ സപ്ലൈ എന്ന് പറയില്ലേ, അതേപോലെ എനിക്ക് അകത്തൊരു ചെറിയൊരു പേടിയായി, ഇത് വലിയ പ്രശ്നമാകുമോ അങ്ങനെ. So and I was told that, look, we have to introduce you because it is our biggest client. We have to introduce you to this gentleman. അവന്റെ കിട്ടു എന്നാണ് അവന്റെ nickname, Kittu. So Kittu is this, Kittu is a tiger, Kittu will have you for breakfast, this, that, and they scared the hell out of me. ഞാൻ ചെറിയൊരു പേടിയുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ പറയും നാളെ നമ്മൾ മീറ്റ് ചെയ്യും. അന്നേരം അപ്പം നാളെ ഐ എം ഗെറ്റിംഗ് റെഡി ഫോർ ടുമോറോ. അവൻ വിളിച്ചു പറഞ്ഞു ഇന്ന് സമയമില്ല, ഇന്ന് മറ്റന്നാൾ നമുക്ക് മീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാം. അപ്പം മറ്റന്നാൾ ആകുമ്പോഴത്തേക്കും ഇന്നും അവന് സമയമില്ല, അവൻ അടുത്ത്. ഞാൻ വെച്ച് ഇത്രയും ഭയങ്കര ബിസി ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരാൾ. And on top of that, he's getting impatient. I'm getting impatient. I'm getting scared, actually. Now, they will meet him. അങ്ങനെ അവരുടെ ഓഫീസിൽ പോയി. അപ്പൊ നമ്മുടെ ഓഫീസിൽ പോയിട്ട് ഒരു 10-16 പേരുണ്ട്. Head of the office, the account director, the client services director, the brand director, മറിച്ച് ഞാൻ ഒറ്റയ്ക്കും ഇവർ കുറെ ആൾക്കാർ. ഇതെല്ലാവർക്കും പേടി, ഇവർക്കെല്ലാവർക്കും പേടി. Because of what happened earlier. അപ്പോൾ ഒരാളെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് Kittu is very busy, so Kittu is going to meet you soon. And people are pacing up and down. നമ്മൾ ഈ സിനിമയിലെല്ലാം കാണത്തില്ല, ആൾക്കാർ ചെറിയായിട്ട് പേടിയായിട്ട്. ഞാനിങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കാണ്ട്, ഇവന് ആരുടെ ഈ Kittu ഇത്രയും ഒരു ഭയങ്കരൻ. അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ നോക്കിയപ്പോ ഒരു ഡോർ തുറന്നിട്ട് ഒരുത്തൻ ഇങ്ങനെ തലയിട്ട് നോക്കിയപ്പോ അപ്പൊ എനിക്കറിയാവുന്ന ഒരുത്തൻ, മനസ്സിലായില്ലേ, അവൻ നീ ഇവിടെ എന്തോ ഇങ്ങനെ, ദിസ് ഇസ് ദി ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡ് വിത്ത് വിച്ച് ഐ സ്പോക്ക്. നീ ഇവിടെ നിന്ന് അപ്പൊ അവൻ നോക്കി, ഞാനിവിടെ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഞാൻ നോക്കിയപ്പോ ഈ സൈഡിൽ നിൽക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാരെല്ലാരും ഇങ്ങനെ മറ്റേ ഫ്രോസൺ ആയിട്ട് നിൽക്കുകയാണ്. ഞാൻ നന്നായിട്ട് നോക്കിയപ്പോഴത്തേക്കും അപ്പൊ ഇതാണ് കിട്ടു. അപ്പൊ ഈ കിട്ടു എന്ന് പറയുന്ന കക്ഷി അവൻ ഹീസ് IIMA അഹമ്മദാബാദ്. ഓക്കെ, അപ്പൊ ഞാൻ ഈ അഹമ്മദാബാദിൽ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഇവൻ എന്റെ ഇന്റേൺ ആയിരുന്നു. Even he had come with a project, branded tarpaulins, I think, something like that. Nothing as vague as that. So he came to me and he worked with me for some time. And finally, he brought this project. It was a big book and said, "This is my thesis and this is my project and everything. Can you take a look at it?" So, ചെറിയൊരു ആറ്റിറ്റ്യൂഡ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. കുറച്ച് നമ്മുടെ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രം ഭാഷ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ചെറിയൊരു മൊട ഉണ്ടായിരുന്നു. Even നമ്മുടെ IIMA is the best IIM in the country, so obviously a very brainy guy.
Yeah.
And ഞാനിങ്ങനെ ഇതിന്റെ ബുക്ക് നോക്കിയിട്ട് എനിക്ക് ഇഷ്ടപ്പെട്ടു. There was something about it which was not right. ഞാൻ എന്ത് ചെയ്യുന്നറിയാമോ? അപ്പൊ എനിക്ക് a small little office which is at the corner. You can't say it a corner office, but it was in the corner anyway. Small little room. ഞാൻ ആ ജനൽ തുറന്നിട്ട് ഇവന്റെ ബുക്ക് എടുത്ത് താഴേക്ക് എറിഞ്ഞു. ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, ഇതാ കിടക്കുന്നു നിന്റെ ബുക്ക്, നീ കൊണ്ടുപോടാ നിന്റെ വർക്ക്. Your work is useless. And I threw it out of the window.
My God.
So he looked at me and he glared at me and he went away. And I never saw him. The next I see him is here. And he is Kittu.
Straight from a Yash Chopra cinema.
Absolutely. So obviously then we hugged each other. And then of course we became very good friends. And it was brilliant for me. So that was how I sort of entered into Grey in Delhi. And then slowly the business grew for us. And then India Shining, yes. I mean, India Shining was not the first campaign that ran. In fact, there was Mumbai where the campaign ODA. But that campaign did not deliver what the government wanted it to deliver. So I ended up meeting with, I met a lot of senior BJP leaders at that point in time. That was Atal Bihari Vajpayee, Prime Minister at the time. Yeah. So the person whom I really worked very closely was Indian Finance Minister Jaswant Singh. Yeah. So and Jaswant Singh is a fantastic human being, very aristocratic. He speaks with a very British accent. How are you doing today? He speaks like that. He's got an army background and things like that. Somehow he took a fancy to my computer. So I used to have a Mac at that point in time. And
okay.
So he would sit with me and figure out, how does this work? How is this better than the other? He was more bothered about my computer. And so it was interesting. He adopted me in a way, and
okay.
So he said, look, this is exactly, so obviously he has seen about 20 other campaigns before ours. And when I shared this campaign, he said, this is exactly what I was looking for. And I said, wow. So he said, look, I want this on air immediately. So, so it was a very hurried production. So I'm not very happy with how it turned out to be, in the sense, we didn't really have the time or the space to even go out and do something very nice. But the print advertising of that, we had a little bit of time, and it really worked. The reason why I had this, I got the feeling that it worked, because the day that campaign broke, India was playing against Australia or Pakistan in Ahmedabad, and Virendra Sehwag was batting. Fully, in his own style, ആദ്യത്തെ 2-3 ബോളൊക്കെ 4 ഒക്കെ അടിച്ചു. ഇത് അടിച്ച വഴി ആൾക്കാർ ഭയങ്കര ബോളമായിരുന്നു. എന്നിട്ട് അതില് അന്നായിരുന്നു ഈ ഇന്ത്യ ഷൈനിങ്ങിന്റെ ഫസ്റ്റ് ആഡ് വന്നത്. ആൻഡ് ഇറ്റ് വാസ് എ ഫുൾ പേജ് ആഡ്. ആരും ഈ ഫുൾ പേജ് പേപ്പർ എടുത്തിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ കാണിച്ചു, ബിക്കോസ് നമ്മൾ ഗാലറിയിൽ ആൾക്കാർ കാണിക്കത്തില്ല പലതും. ക്യാമറ അതിങ്ങനെ കാണിച്ചു. അപ്പൊ TV സ്ക്രീനിൽ ഇന്ത്യ ഷൈനിങ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പൊ ഗവാസ്കർ ഉടനെ, India is truly shining. And he was speaking in terms of how Sehwag was batting. India is truly shining today, and all that. So that's when I figured out, I think, it has touched some bit of India. It has caught the fancy of the country. Because,
Correct.
till that time, no one ever told Indians that uh, India is a good place to be. And we were always, saying, you're a third world country, you're struggling, you're this, you're that. And, we campaign suddenly said, look, India is doing well. And that's a very happy feeling. I mean, see, much like what is happening today with this lockdown and with this COVID,
Correct.
the
Yeah.
fact that, I don't know how far it's going to be or it's going to hold. But at least till now, we see that versus other international places, we seem to have done better in terms of controlling the
True.
number of
True.
cases that have happened. And of course, we
Correct.
have
Correct.
our own shortfalls. And I mean, nobody was ever ready for this, was it? I mean, it wasn't that we knew it was just coming 2 years before, so we had all the time to plan. No, it happened all of a sudden, and then what do? The entire country is at stake. 1.3 billion people, lives.
Correct.
So how does the
Yeah.
government deal with it? How does the government deal with it? I mean, look, I must
Do you
congratulate the
think
minister.
this India Shining campaign
Yeah.
actually it triggered off this nationalistic feel of India and Indians both
No, I
inside and
think,
outside India?
India Shining, I think, was perhaps the first modern version of a proud India, of an India which is done well. Because India Shining was actually designed to inject optimism, economic optimism into the country. And more importantly, it was also to get FDI. We wanted to
Okay.
get foreign funds into the country. In fact,
No wonder the finance minister was involved in it.
yeah, absolutely. See, it was done to stimulate an economy which is very sluggish. Uh, I wouldn't say even sluggish, it was very sedate, almost lifeless. അവരുടെ ഭാഷയിൽ അന്നത്തെ ഭാഷ പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ all the macroeconomic indicators were in place, but the economy wasn't moving ahead. And people had to be told that this was the best time to take loans, to expand your businesses, to invest in the stock market and all that. And India is very stable. So we had to basically stimulate the nation into, creating more and more opportunity for itself, which is what this campaign was. And I think the line, obviously the campaign it became political at one point in time when it wasn't designed to be. But India Shining, I think, has stayed back as a line in the sense that when India does well, whether in industry or whether in sport or whether in everything, the term that captures our collective pride is India Shining. So it has gone away from that political, badgering that it took. And it has taken on a stance of its own. It has taken on a life of its own. So you will see India Shining being thrown about by newspapers left, right, and center across time, and it's going to stay that way.
Yeah. Now you were the person instrumental in another campaign which is equally or maybe bigger than what India Shining is all about. Incredible India. Now that is one thing which is stood the test of time. And it still resonates.
Okay. So interestingly, India Shining is not. Sorry, while India Shining is my personal, something which I wrote myself. Incredible India was already there when I started working on it. So nobody knows who wrote Incredible India. So it's a mystery. I know the actual truth, but I don't want to say. Okay, so. It's one of those things. But I did not write it. And it was there before it. But it was the way Incredible India is designed, was designed by another Malayali called V. Sunil, who used to. He's the guy who is part of the Binale in Cochin. V. Sunil is very much part of. So that's the same V. Sunil. So he was he was the head of Ogilvy here in Delhi at that point in time. And so they had the issue with Ogilvy, etc. And that is when Gray got in. And it was on the back of India Shining that this happened. And I remember when when we pitched, um, hello. So when we pitched for this, I was at that time Congress had come in, so BJP had gone away, and this is first Manmohan Singh's term.
Yeah.
So I think Renuka Chaudhary was the minister,
tourism minister.
And
Amitabh Kant was the ITDC head.
Yeah, no, he was head of Department of Tourism, Secretary of Tourism. So
Secretary of Tourism. Okay.
Yeah. So because she might have seen me on television on India Shining, and a lot of people think that I am BJP. I'm not BJP. It's just a job that I did. That is the end of it.
Yeah.
So I was a little scared. So when I walked in, she looked at me and she recognized me and she said, "So aren't you the one who did India Shining?" I said, "Yeah." And she said, "If you can package a country like that, I think you can package tourism equally well. The account is yours." Okay. So it was as simple as that. And then I handled it for about 7 years. So I used to work very closely with Mr. Kant. Interestingly, I know Mr. Kant from his career days as well. Yana Reflections work in the Stark. I've spent some time in Stark as well. He was the Matsya Fed MD, and after that, I think he was the KSIDC MD as well. Okay. So I've met him off and on, and he knows me.
Okay.
So when I met him again, but this time obviously in a very different context, he's like, "Look, I know you're capable of doing this," and he gave me a lot of support. And he completely went behind whatever we shared as a campaign. And the campaigns that I've done, it has won the world's best tourism campaign multiple times and things like that. Because they used to enter it in lots of places.
Okay.
Lots of very, very successful, and that campaign also was the first ever campaign to be showcased at Times Square in New York, which is the world's most expensive outdoor real estate, so to say,
I know. Yeah.
So that was how it is.
Yeah, I know. Now, Prathap, that's quite a fascinating journey, quite an interesting, quite an electrifying journey, which is virtually straight out of a fairy tale, from Ullur to the Lutyens' Delhi, and from Lutyens' Delhi to, walking up the highest stairs to the Indian political system, and from the Indian political system to the Indian governance, and then creating a campaign that actually took India to a global platform. Now, what did you feel at that particular point of time? What was that was going through when the campaign, literally became a successful model for any advertising initiatives from the country?
So are you talking about India Shining or Incredible India?
India Shining.
Okay, India Shining is another instance. See, a lot of people thought that I did not take advantage of the good times, so to say, and
the connectivity.
Yeah. Correct. I am the last guy to go around, asking people for favors.
Correct.
There was a reason why I was hired to, deliver, and I delivered it, and that was according to me the end of it. But one interesting thing that happened was the campaign നടന്നിരിക്കുന്ന സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ ബോംബെയിൽ I'd gone for some work, and I stayed in this place called Lansdowne, which is in Bandra.
Lansdowne, yeah.
So there was some. I had an interview over there, or I was chatting up with somebody, and in the back, it was in the restaurant. ഒരു waiter the plates എല്ലാം കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ട് he dropped all the plates behind me or something, and it made such a terrible noise. So there were a couple of people who were sitting in the table next to me, and one guy looks at it and says, "Well, India Shining," he was basically referring to the noise that the plates made. So, and I found that to be very interesting. So I said, "Excuse me." He said, "Yes." He said, "You just said India shining, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm the one who wrote it. I'm the one who wrote it."
Yeah.
So he looks at me and says, "Yeah, ഇനിയിപ്പോ എല്ലാരും പറയും അവരാണ് എഴുതിയത്." So, so I didn't want to go out of the way to tell him, "No, I want to prove that I wrote it." No, I didn't do anything. I said, "Okay, it's all right." So that was a crazy thing. And ആ സമയത്ത് ഞാനും എൻ്റെ കൂടെ partner, who's my partner now, Naresh Gupta. So both of us were on India Shining together. And we had a letter from the finance ministry and written by the finance minister himself saying that to whomsoever it may concern, these people are working on a very important project for the government of India. Please afford them all help.
Excellent.
I'm telling you, I used to walk into the airport 5 minutes before the flight, show this letter, and get somebody thrown out of that plane, and I would go sit inside. ഒരു 2-3 മാസം I had a feeling and a taste of what actual power meant.
Power meant, correct.
Yeah, I mean, of course, we never really misused it, but it was fun at the time.
I understand. Now, Prathap, now I have this question for the posterity, or maybe for the younger generation.
1 second, my battery is running out.
Sure.
When the battery is running out, I need to charge my phone.
Sure. Please.
Yeah, tell me.
Now, this question is for the young advertising professionals who wants to make it big in their field.
I can't hear you.
How's it now? Am I loud and clear? Hello? Hello?
One second.
Yeah.
I'm slightly running short of battery.
Okay.
Just a minute. Let me see if I can do something else.
No problem.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay. Now we are good. Now I can charge my phone also.
Right. Yeah. Now my question to you is, the advertising professionals who wants to make it big in the industry, it could be as a creative director, as a servicing person, as a copywriter. We are living in times where we still have these certain professions within society which is regarded as bigger or more lucrative than the rest. I'm talking about the engineers, the doctors, and people in similar capacities, and not forgetting the civil service officers, the IFS, IAS, IPS, cadres. Now, people who haven't ventured out into the industry, who have watched or observed advertising from a distance, or people who know this industry only in parts, may tell you that it is also one of the most lucrative industries in India and abroad. Now, what is that you want to advise our younger generation? People who want to become copywriters, people who want to become creative professionals, who want to be part of the advertising bandwagon. What is that you have to tell them?
Okay, so I want to say I want to give a very different take on this. See, regardless of whichever business you are in, or regardless of whichever line that you want to follow, if you're good at it, there is money.
Yeah.
If you are Trivandrum's best barber, you make a lot of money.
Yeah. Correct.
If you're Trivandrum's best gardener, you make a lot of money. If you're Trivandrum's best florist, you make a lot of money. If you're Trivandrum's best baker, you make a lot of money, right? The moment you
Correct.
become average, there is no money.
Yeah.
And how do you become the best? By loving what you do. If you don't love your job, if you get up in the morning and if you say that, oh dear, I have to go to work, you're doomed.
Correct.
There is no way you will break through if you go to work with that attitude. On the other hand, oh, let me go and have some fun today. You know,
Okay.
I get paid for my hobby, so I don't go to work. So,
Yeah.
and in fact, the last day I went to work was the first day I went to work. And after which, I've been just having fun. So, if
Correct.
you enjoy this business, then you will hit it big because then the pretenders will fall out. The only reason why I have survived for 35 years, almost 35 years in this business, is because I love my business. I love what I do. I go to work saying that, look, what fun can I have today? I bring in a lot of positivity to my work and hopefully to my clients and to the people who work with me. Today I run
I
my
know.
own agency, and I'm
Correct.
very happy to say that I run a very, very happy agency. We
Now,
have a
Pratap,
lot of fun. I mean, yeah,
yeah, uh, no wonder. I mean, that fun reflects on everything you do. Be it the copy that you create, be the poetry that you
it
write every
has
day,
to.
be, be it the
Yeah,
Facebook posts that you create every day, and you're quite a charmer. Now, being a charmer, you have had your run-ins with the negative issues also. Now, something which I admire and adore is
absolutely.
that you wanted to discuss something which which also took you to the other part of the world, the darker part of the world. There was this campaign
Right.
that almost maligned your great journey from Trivandrum to New Delhi, from an intern to a creative boss, and from an advertising rookie to an advertising guru. Now, I don't want to be specific on that, but there was a campaign that wherein your name was involved, or your name was thrown in, probably not involved, thrown in, and eventually the same people who threw in those names raised their hands and said, "No, we made a mistake.
Correct.
Prathap
Yeah.
was not part of it. He was innocent." Now, that was a trial by fire. Now, those
Right.
that period, I'm sure you would have gone through uh, that space with a uh, lot of negative feelings, lot of heartburns. Yeah, probably you would have faced it within your family, within your peer circle, all that stuff. Now, that is an interesting story uh, where the man within you stood up for yourself, and you kept your cool and waited for a legal scenario wherein you could prove your innocence. Now, I want to know, what was your take there when it happened? And how did you spin it off?
Okay. So this is, I mean, this is what do you call it? It's possibly the hardest time that I had to go through in my entire life, not even career,
Correct.
where you are accused of having done something when you haven't, you know. And
Correct. Correct.
see, across the number of years that I've been in the business, um, and let's be very clear, why are we even hiding it? I mean, this is the Me Too incident that we're talking about. And
Correct. Correct. Yeah.
across the years that I've been in business, I have worked with hundreds, almost thousands of women, not just as colleagues, also as clients, also as people who are in the modeling business, right?
Correct. Yeah.
As photography, film, music. Yeah, I have so many friends, women friends, who are across all sorts of industries, and I've always been very fair in how I have dealt with them. I've been more of a friend than most people. I have no issues sitting down and having a drink with them, wherever it is. I have no issues uh, helping them out in when it comes to their career and things like that. I've helped a lot of people. I've
Okay.
given women their stance, their space. People I've pushed women ahead, because a lot of women kind of feel they're not ready for a certain role, and I've made them do that. So when this happened, it came as a surprise. And I'm not saying that I haven't fought with women professionally. Of course, I have fought with women professionally, but that's been
Yeah.
purely business. If somebody
Correct.
had to do something by X amount of in X amount of time, and if they don't deliver it,
Yeah.
and I lose my cool, because it's my judgment of that person suddenly which is at stake. So all those
Correct.
fights we've had, but nowhere have I
So
crossed
it's
the
it's
line.
not it's
You
not
know,
about it's not at that particular point of time. It's not about being women or men or anything. It's about
no,
getting
no.
a particular thing done. Correct.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when it happened, I was very surprised, and I felt very odd that something of this sort could have come. I mean, look, we've all been in this business for a long time. Uh, we know such things happen. It's not that we don't know that it happens. It happens both ways. I
Correct.
mean, there are women who take advantage of men. There are also men who take advantage of women, etc.,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah.
And
Correct.
advertising is a place where there is no respect for time, really, in the sense that we all
Correct.
work very hard. We work through the night at times, and it's
Yeah.
both men and women are always together, and there's never been such incidents. It's always, if at all such things have happened, it's always been mutual, right?
Correct.
If some
Correct.
guy likes a girl or a girl likes a guy, they want to go out, let them go out and have fun. I mean, that is their issue. But
Correct.
never has any other thing happened. At least in my watch, it hasn't happened. So when this
Yeah.
came up, I was very surprised because first thing, I didn't know who this person was. I have never met
Yeah.
this person. I don't remember her. She's not part of any of my circle of friends or worked in any of the companies that I've been in. And I was surprised when it came in. And I don't remember this incident. See, the thing is, usually you normally, as an average person, you would remember the things that you have done, the wrong things you've done. You may not remember
Correct.
the number of good things you've done, but you would always remember,
Correct.
the wrong things. I mean, I do remember the number of times I stole biscuits from my amma's kitchen, or she must have kept ice
Yeah.
cream inside. I would have taken a tube out. I remember those things
Correct.
because those are things
And
where you go.
the book you threw out of the window, and the
Absolutely,
presentation
that
you threw out
that
of the window.
correct. So I remember all that, and in fact, if it is about this particular realm of affairs, then you would remember it even more. So I
Correct.
said, look, I, I don't think I have that much of, memory loss to have forgotten such a thing. And it's not that anyone has ever mentioned it because, across somebody could have mentioned it at least, you remember that day when you did something like this. I said, no, I don't remember anything. So when the first time there was a web portal that called me and said, look, we have come across this tweet and we have come across this blog and it's terrible and whatever. I said, look, buddy, I don't know this person. I haven't met this person. I haven't done this thing. And more importantly, and most importantly, you say that this happened, or at least the girl accused that this happened in my cabin. And I'm talking about 1999, right? That's 20 years ago, 21 years ago. And in 1999, I never had a cabin. I had my cabin in 2003. After I became
Okay.
National Creative Director of Grey is when I got a cabin. I never had a
Okay.
cabin in 1999. And am I out of my head to have done something like this in front of people? And don't you think people will remember? And see, if
Right.
I'm sitting here, I can see people. I mean, my office was so open that you could see everybody on that floor. So there was no way I could have done something like this. And interestingly and thankfully, I actually have a video of that flow with me. And
Okay.
there's me walking inside the office. Somebody had shot. In fact, it was my own camera. I had bought a new camera and
Okay.
tested out, so somebody shot it. So I have that film with me, which shows that office. Unfortunately, that office doesn't exist anymore. That office has been,
Okay.
I think, brought down, and some other building has come up in its place. But
I see.
I have
Okay.
I have this film, and there are people in that film who remember that office exactly the way it is. So when this came out, so that was my response. So it can't be true. Then
No,
somebody
Pratap,
else wrote.
do you think people are exploiting this particular section or this particular movement, um, and
Now, okay,
utilizing it
so now
to their advantage?
here is what. Now, Sujil, this is the crazy part. Okay, um, see, there are bad apples everywhere, right? I mean, there are bad apples among men. There are bad apples among women. It's not that all men are bad and all women are good. No, that doesn't work that way.
Correct.
I mean, you look at your history itself. You look at your mythology. You know exactly what I'm saying,
Yeah.
right?
Correct.
It's human nature we're talking about. Now, now that it came through as it was a false accusation and she was called out, etc. Now, my own point is that I can understand if there is a genuine case, right?
Yeah.
And you want to gain from it. When you have nothing to gain from it, and now that it's come out that this person lied, right? Now, put yourself in her shoes. I mean, no guy would ever want to talk to her, whether it is a colleague or whether it's a client. No organization would want to hire that person because this person lied openly and actually put somebody in the dock because of her lie. What benefit did she get except for that temporary sort of spotlight that
Moment
she
of
got
pain.
when
Yeah.
yeah, but that fame has actually butchered her, isn't it?
Correct.
I mean,
Very true.
it hasn't given her anything. I mean, somebody was telling me that it sort of coincided with my case coming apart as a moment when this complete movement collapsed. Ever since my case came out and it was proven that there are people who are actually making up stories,
Making up
the
stories. Now,
genuinity of this,
what
the
was,
issue.
what was that single uh, thought that came to your mind, and how did you mentally came,
Okay,
mentally
so
come out of it?
yeah,
Out of it.
so there are two things I think. One is, of course, I mean, there was always my belief that I had not done anything, so I knew that honesty would take me ahead. That was one. Second was the biggest fear that you have in a situation like this is whether your family is going to hold up. Okay,
Correct. Yeah.
whether, especially in my case, is my wife going to be with me, and is my child going to be with me? Is my son going to be with me? Now, in my case, both my wife and my son, they they were rocks. They stood strongly behind me and said, "We know this is a lie. We don't worry about anything." So the biggest worry for me was scuttled by them in an instant. There was Joe had not even one moment of doubt that this was a cooked up lie. She said, "No, this."
Correct.
You know what she said? She actually said, "This is you're incapable of this. So don't worry about it." So
Yeah.
that's support, and of course there are some friends for that matter. Anju, right?
Yeah. Definitely.
She
Definitely.
was
Yeah.
one person
Dr.
who
Anju.
Anju kept, so she kept, telling me that don't worry about this, this will pass, and she stood strongly behind me. So,
Correct.
in fact, Kamal even Anju's husband, both of them, in fact, Neha, their daughter, they all know me very well. Uh,
Yeah.
they all stood behind me, and now the crazy thing was that, and while a lot of men supported me, most of the men were scared of coming out and saying it openly, saying that, we know you, yeah, we've never seen you in any compromising position anywhere with anybody. You've never done anything of the sort with anyone. They were scared to say because they would be swamped by the tsunami of women. Because at that
I
point in
know.
time, women were like helter-skelter running after almost anyone, trying to cut them down. I had a lot of people. In fact, a girl, I know the girl in Trivandrum. I think she works for a newspaper. I've even forgotten her name. ആ പെണ്ണ് കൊല്ലത്തുള്ള പെണ്ണ സ്ഥലത്തിന്റെ പേര് ഞാൻ പോയി. എനിവേ ആ പെണ്ണിന് ഞാനാ ജോലി കൊടുത്തത്. ആ പെണ്ണ് ഒരു 2-3 കൊല്ലം മുമ്പ് അവന് ഞാൻ ട്രിവാൻഡ്രത്ത് വന്നപ്പോ എന്റെ വീട്ടിൽ വന്നു, ചായ കുടിച്ചു, സംസാരിച്ചു, എന്നെ ഇന്റർവ്യൂ ചെയ്തു. She's a journalist now. She used to be in advertising before. എന്നിട്ടപ്പം so she's come home and she knows me inside out, family wise as well. ആ പെണ്ണ് നേരെ തിരിഞ്ഞുണ്ട് എന്നെ പറ്റി എന്തൊക്കെയോ പറഞ്ഞോളൂ. ഇത് ഈ ആൾക്കാരെ they never, ഒരു ആളിനെ കൈ ചൂണ്ടിയാൽ എല്ലാരും അവനിങ്ങനെ കൈ ചൂണ്ടും. Nobody gives you any support. I mean, of course, and I mean, and the thing is that when such a thing happens, you also feel very angry towards, I mean, there was a point in time when I decided that I will never hire women again, so in fact, I had a very interesting moment with Lal Jose. So Lal Jose, the director. So ende sambhavam nadannu. It came out that I was framed in a way, and it was a false accusation as well. And then once it was proven that it came out, and then everybody wanted to be behind me, saying that we all knew that we were okay. So interestingly, Lal Jose picked it up. He picked up the story that there was a false accusation, and he said something about me, and he referred to me as an advertising filmmaker. And he also mentioned the fact, that my family went through some trouble because of that.
Okay.
So, I mean, which is not true. My family stood very strongly behind me. And I made sure that I contacted him through a friend of mine, Sujil in Cochin. He connected me over the phone. And I said, I'm sure somebody else is going to talk about this to you. And at least when you speak the next time, please avoid using that my family got into trouble. No, family did not get into trouble. That's one thing which really stood strong for me.
I know.
In fact, my colleagues as well, all the women in my office, they stood by me. And
now, Prathap, anybody who knows you, Prathap, anybody who knows you and knows you well will always stand by you. Now, your story is a mix of it's straight out of a thriller movie. It has its own ups and downs. It has romance, it has fights, it has mystery, it has glory. It has everything that a modern day a rom-com would offer. Probably from Trivandrum to the national capital, from a state capital to a national capital, and from being a blue-eyed boy of a government machinery to an accused. You've seen it all. You've done it all. Now that is an interesting story, and I'm sure our viewers would find this interesting. And also, your story also empowers a lot of people who would face or would have faced similar issues in different circumstances, different situations, for having been wrongly accused of something. Now, this empowers all those people, and our chat, this afternoon was worthwhile, and I'm so grateful on behalf of ViralBreak, and thank you so much for being part of ViralBreak.
You're very welcome,
spending such a long time. It's been a sheer
and
delight.
1 second, and before that, I want to thank you first, because you've taken a lot of you spent almost an hour and a half with me today, and you spent similar time with a lot of other people as well. So I thank you for taking your time out to making sure that a lot of people gain out of insights into people's lives like mine, and other people, more colorful people also. And absolutely hats off for you to have done this and put this together. And I also want to congratulate our state for all the effort that it has taken, to all the doctors and people who have gone out and made sure that our state actually fought COVID, and is at the verge of actually flattening the curve.
Absolutely.
And remarkable leadership by the Chief Minister and Shailaja teacher and all that. It's such a proud moment, when you are away from the state and when you watch the numbers come down, and we were like right on top, and now we are like number 10 in the list. It's amazing that we are spoken about across the world today. So
True.
It's not that if any one of us had any doubts that we are not world class, well, here's the proof.
Very true. Very true.
So
Very true.
we belong to a brilliant place, and all the best for everyone. And I'm so glad that I'm a Malayali here.
I know. We have survived all these years in Kerala, so we can survive anything, anywhere in the world. And now Malayali is a classic example, classic representative of resilience, of of self-belief, and you wouldn't find go-getters like a Malayali anywhere in the world. On that note, on that note, once again, thank you so much for your time, Prathap. And I also thank the team behind Kirti, Tilagan, Arun, Prijit, and Prasil, and also Dr. Anju Kamal, who's always been a great friend, and for helping us connect with Prathap. And that was Prathap Suthan, India's leading ad man, speaking to us from New Delhi. Signing off, Big Mouth Sujil. Thank you so much.